our second video for the St. Mary Church Employment Ministry. My name is Dr. Catherine Burr, and the topic of this video is resume building for a chronological resume. Again, thank you to Father Guzman and Deacon Terrence Chisholm and the members of the Finance and the Parish Councils for their support of this ministry that's at no charge to parishioners and members of our community. If you're currently working and looking for another position, or maybe you've been asked to apply for a promotion and you need to submit your resume, a chronological resume is a really good place to start. And basically it says, I'm working here now, I used to work here, and before that I worked there, and before that I worked somewhere else. Remember, a resume is not a guarantee to get a job. The resume is to hopefully get you the interview, and the interview will get you the job. The purpose of drafting your first resume is to really get a couple of different eyes on it. If you were to ask 15 different people to look at your resume, you would get, trust me, 15 different opinions. And so my goal is to give you a couple of suggestions and tips and tools and techniques for very effective resume writing. So let's get started. The first exercise I want you to think about is to list 5 things that are important to you in your next position. Perhaps it's salary. Your children are thinking of going to college, or you've got a lot of bills to pay. Money is a driver for you right now. Or maybe money isn't the driver because you had that job and you didn't like it so much, and the company culture is much more important. So you need to decide what is critical for you. I worked with one client whose goal was to move to Hawaii, and that's what she wanted to do. And I said, do you mind how you get to Hawaii? Because wouldn't it be great to work for an organization here, get promoted into more of a management leadership role, and then they would promote you to Hawaii and they would move you? And she said, that's fantastic, let's do that. I said, great. So she listed her 5 things, and I said, I think you should work at McDonald's. And she said, I do not want to work at fast food. And I said, then that needs to be one of your 5 things. But McDonald's is the #1 global real estate organization. Did you know that? They have more real estate at McDonald's than any other company in the world. They're also the largest toy manufacturer because of their Happy Meals. So McDonald's is a great organization. They're always hiring. It's just amazing to work there. And they have McDonald's here in the Carolinas and in Hawaii. So after some counseling and some talking, she actually took the position, and now she is on the Big Island working, and that's her dream, having a great time. So make sure when you're going through this exercise, what are the 5 things? You can think about it in the car, you can think about it in the evening when you've got some peace, and say, what do I really like to do? What am I looking for? Once you determine that, look at what kind of company you want to work for. Do you want to be remote? Do you want to work a specific set 8 to 5? Or is flexibility more important to you because you have a young family or you're caring for someone in your home? So decide what's important and what you can, and maybe salary is important, maybe it's not. So let's talk about getting ready to write the resume. The heading is really important. I've worked with all kinds of clients that have, their heading is 7 lines, and it's very narrow on the page. Well, remember, the average recruiter or hiring manager is only going to take about 25 to 30 seconds to look at your resume. And they're only going to look at the top third of the resume, typically, before you can gather their interest to have them read the entire resume. So if the whole top third of your resume is name, address, email, phone number, all in a line, that's going to take too much precious space from your resume. So my recommendation is you use 1-inch margins. A quick story on that. I had a client who was an LPN, and she'd been looking for 9 months to find a job. A licensed practical nurse, and I'm thinking something's wrong. Nurses are in high demand, whether you're a registered nurse or licensed practical nurse. She sent me her resume, and she had 2.5-inch margins. So she only used the 3 inches in the middle of the page. Her resume was 12 pages long. So people looking at that in the first 15 or 20 or 30 seconds, they hit delete and they move on. And they're not going to take the time to say, hey, Catherine, you've got 2-inch margins or 3-inch margins. Let's reformat that. They're just going to pass it and move on. So we reconfigured her resume to a 12-point font, 1-inch margins, bold headings, no text boxes, no pictures, no fancy spacing, just very basic, because most of these resumes will be uploaded into a database for HR. And if it messes with your beautiful text box, it's going to kick it out and it's not going to be appealing and they're going to move on. So if you've got a resume that has pictures and text boxes, that's great. Save it for the interview and say, here's an updated copy of my resume, and hand deliver it. But for the purposes of getting the interview, let's talk about just a basic Word document. I like Times New Roman or Calibri. And then you bullet your headings. And I believe in parallel language. And parallel language means that if your headings are 1 word or 2 words each, then keep that consistent. If your date says January 2020, then don't say SEPT, comma, 2021. So be parallel in your language. It doesn't matter what you pick, just whatever you pick, be consistent throughout. So the first heading is going to be your contact information, 3 lines, your name first, your address second. I personally, for safety reasons, I would not put your home address. Put Rock Hill, comma, South Carolina, comma, 29732. That's the address. And then the next line has both your email and your phone number. You don't have to say email colon and phone colon. We know what a phone number is. So just put the email, a couple spaces, and your phone number, and that's it. Space down, and now let's talk about the objective. Some resumes have an objective, particularly if you're changing industries or you're getting promoted and you want to highlight some of your leadership experience in this new role. Sometimes you might feel I'm not comfortable with an objective, but one of the addendums that we have for you that will be shown is some sample objectives that you can utilize. The third heading would be accomplishments. I would bold it, I would capitalize objective and accomplishments, and here's where you're going to pull out the key things that you have done in your career that are going to make you ideal for that new position. Special circumstances, if you're a military, if you're a veteran, if you're active duty, make sure that's one of the first or second words that you speak in your resume under accomplishments. 20-year retired Army veteran is very powerful. Numbers are very powerful. Secondly, if you speak multiple languages, I once worked with a student. I currently teach in the MBA and the undergrad programs for a couple of universities, and one of my students spoke 5 languages, but she only put 2 down because she wasn't as fluent. And I said, list all 5 if you can understand, if you can speak. Then if they have questions about, well, do you write in Arabic, then you can address that when you're at the interview. So if you're bilingual, make sure that's right after or right before your military service. Those are very in need skills and competencies right now. So be sure to include some of the statements that you've done. I led a team of 15 diverse individuals over 22 months. That's numbers, that's a past tense action verb at the beginning, led. Even if you are working currently, right now, still use the past tense of verb because you did it yesterday as well. Led, managed, developed, participated, presented, all of those are going to be on a 1-page document that can help you identify what are the key attributes that you have that can be included in your resume, and that page will be available as well. The next heading, again, bold and capitalized, is education. So you can see the parallel language. I'm using 1-word headings, objective, accomplishments, education, and you can just feel the movement of the resume. So the top third of the resume now has your contact information, maybe it has an objective, maybe not, and your accomplishments, so they can get a real good idea, do I want to read the rest of this? Is this somebody that I'd like to work with going forward? So for education, I would put it up front if you recently completed a degree, you recently were certified in something new, maybe an IT certification, maybe a nursing certification, something. If it's been 10 years or more since you've done anything from an educational standpoint, then I would move it to the bottom of the resume, all right? Then the next heading would be experience. And here's where with a chronological resume, you start with the most recent position first. I worked at ABC Manufacturing Company from January 2018 to present. And then you list 3 to 5 bullets. I developed, I managed, I led, I participated, I budgeted, whatever those are, 1 line per statement and 1 to 2 numbers in those statements. And I can help you work on that as well in our one-on-one mentoring sessions, okay? Volunteering might be the last heading. I would recommend you avoid putting either political or religious affiliations in the volunteering. Maybe you work at a soup kitchen. Maybe you volunteer for helping people find jobs at different locations around the area. Maybe if you're 16 years old, you volunteered through school and you do some babysitting. That's your only experience. That's fine. If you're a waiter, a wait staff, we don't need you to list all the things you do as a waiter. We know what a wait staff person does. So make sure you're writing this for your audience as well, all right? Keep the resume to 1 page. I have a 1-page resume, and I have 25 years in the pharmaceutical industry and 14 years working in higher education. 2 different industries, lots of different education, lots of different leadership and education. So if I can get a 1-page resume out of all of that, so can you, with an 11 or 12-point font. So sample resumes will be provided to get you started with the format. And the second exercise I'd like you to do is look at that action verbs statement, and when you're writing your resume, pick 4 or 5 action verbs that you've done, put them in past tense, and get your sentences going. If you get stuck, pick another action verb. Think about what you're doing. Words like diverse, a diverse team is going to pop when the HR professionals say these are the 17 words that we're looking for. Strategy, team, works well with others, decision making, customer service, attention to detail, good work ethic. Those are the kinds of things that they be looking for. There's some great free resources for you. I'm a member of LinkedIn and I'm very supportive of that group. If you're not a member, I'd highly recommend you join. It's kind of like Facebook for business, and it's free to join. And if you're on the main page on the far right, it's called LinkedIn Learning. And if you click on that, there's some fabulous videos that will walk you step by step by step for about an hour and a half. One of the videos that I clicked on was writing a resume with Stacy Gordon, and it's an hour and 45 minutes. And she does a really nice job really delving deep into some of these topics for a free video. So if you'd like to learn more about the chronological resume, that's another resource. Remember, if you ask 15 people to give you feedback or make recommendations in your job search, you're going to get 15 different suggestions. My goal is to help you take 1 or 2 of these tips or techniques or thought processes, and if you can take 1 or 2 tips from 10 or 15 different people, you'll have a really stellar resume. So good luck with the job search, and join me in a prayer real quick. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Remember to trust in God, as St. Teresa of Avila stated. Let nothing disturb you, nothing frighten you. All things are passing. God never changes. Practice always conquers. Whoever has God lacks nothing, for God alone suffices. Let's get started writing your chronological resume and enjoy the videos. I'll look forward to you contacting me at your convenience to set up a one-on-one mentoring session. Have an amazing day. Bye.